The aim of this journey was to cycle and camp through a new part of Europe on my way to Sweden. I took my Brompton on the train from London to Hamburg and then unfolded the bike and headed for Poland, from where I could take a ferry over the Baltic to Sweden. I'd had really wet weather at the start, but still enjoyed camping by lakes and riding through the landscape of the old Duchy of Mecklenburg. And I'd seen cities and towns and the manor houses of
lovely,
the nobles that used to own a lot of the land. I had ridden a bit over 300 kilometres so far, and after 6 days I'd reached the border with the old Duchy of Pomerania. I was camping wild here. It had been great, but when I woke up I felt really tired, so I was actually glad that it was raining again, so that I had a good excuse to be lazy and stay in bed.
It's only about 7 o'clock. By 10 it's going to be clear. So I think it's a slow start. I just wish someone would give me a bowl of porridge. Because the thought of making it for some reason seems like really hard work. I'm doing it.
Sometimes you just feel tired.
Porridge and coffee, so that's good.
Once I'd had a bowl of porridge and some coffee, I felt better. And I thought about how different wild camping is from camping at a campsite. The most wonderful thing about wild camping for me is the chance to be out in nature. But there are other aspects too.
I do prefer wild camping to camping in campsites. I really do, because in fact it's easier. Sounds funny, doesn't it? But it is easier because you're literally living on one spot. You don't have to walk around to do things in different places. Going to the shower block, going to fetch water. And you literally just take your shoes off and then you are home in your little tent, and everything is around you that you need. And if you want to have a shower in your little washing bowl, which I did last night, you just do it because there's nobody here. And if you want to pee in the middle of the night, you just get up and you pee. Right, I'm going to wipe down the tent because it's sopping wet. And do the washing up, clear up and go. It's raining again. Oh well.
It's nice to sit and read in the tent. I take a paper book, partly because I can't waste my phone battery.
Right, so the tent is dry, which is brilliant. The bike is dry, which is also great. The bags are packed. So, nearly done. It's actually really nice weather now.
So I was camping right at the border of Pomerania, about which I knew pretty much nothing, but it turned out to be really different from Mecklenburg that I had passed through. Anyway, first I had to get out of the wood, and this part of the way I do wild camping, the whole forging through woodlands bit, isn't always easy.
Nearly there. Done it. Nearly. Halfway, I think. Brilliant! Ah, well done! Oh, it's been a little bit like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. Would you have? Right. Back to the road. But the breeze just feels so lovely. It's perfect temperature.
So Mecklenburg, that I'd ridden through, had been, in history, a fairly stable place, ruled in just two chunks. Pomerania had been a patchwork of small separate duchies, ruled by various dukes of Slavic origin called the House of Griffin, which is a great name. But in the 1600s, the last Griffin died childless, and Pomerania was sliced up and ruled by different countries. These days, part of Pomerania is in Germany and part is in Poland. And some really sad, bad things have happened here. I had reached Demmin, a little town. At the end of the Second World War here, around 1,000 people killed themselves, mainly women and children, after the Soviet Red Army had marched in. It was a terrible thing and one of the worst mass suicides in German history. And what's made it even more difficult has been that under the old East German regime, no one could talk about it. Now I had been on the road a week. I loved watching the new leaves coming out.
I feel like the lime trees have been kind of, well, obviously they have been coming out whilst I've been riding. These ones are quite full out. So today I'm going to arrive at the Baltic. I've been inland from the Baltic by 100 kilometres, and I'm going to now go to the sea, and I'm going to camp there. to me.
Mecklenburg had seemed prosperous to me, but here in Pomerania the villages did not seem prosperous at all.
So we're going to Lloyd's.
Lloyd's at first looked good. It's on the Pina River, and I was really looking forward to sit at a cafe and have coffee and cake as a treat. But as soon as I entered the town, I realised there was something wrong.
My God.
And it turned out that the town had been prosperous with various factories, a starch factory and a dowel rod factory. But after reunification of East and West Germany, the businesses here collapsed and shops and cafes closed and people moved away. And nowadays there's hardly a single shop in the whole town. And I saw no people and it felt so weird. This was the only shop I saw that looked like it might still be in business, just about. The town square seemed to have been renovated, but there were still no businesses, no cafes, no people. It was so sad. I found the whole place really troubling.
I'm going to have a coffee so I cheer myself up here. Oof. Feel a bit flat. So I was going to have a really nice coffee and a cake here, but not really going on. But I've got a bread roll and cheese, so I'll have that. Where are the people? Ich bin von Hamburg mit dem Fahrrad gefahren.
Da ist ja Rostock ist und Hamburg so ungefähr.
Ja.
In die Richtung. Auf der Elbe.
Ja, auf der Elbe.
Nö, alles.
Ja, muss mal schauen, ob Sie Kaffee und Kuchen haben. Gut.
Gemacht
Kirschtorte auch.
Auch Kaffee. Warm war.
Oh,
Auch Kaffee dazu?
ja, gerne. Danke. Mhm. nice. I've hardly had any proper treats like boards. So, wow, straight out the oven.
So a very weird thing was that actually this part of Pomerania had actually been part of Sweden for about 200 years. And Greifswald, the university town that I came to next, felt so different, felt affluent. It felt a bit like a Swedish city. People seemed to be living a sort of normal westernised urban life with bookshops and cafes and what have you. It was really nice. I really liked it.
Baltic Sea. Oh God, let's stop and have a look. Such a busy road.
So I had reached the coast here and I was aiming to camp right by the beach and really looking forward to it.
I think it's about 10-15k to go now. Beautiful evening. I was thinking today maybe I'll get a sunset. It'd be really nice. I've not really had anything like sunrises or sunsets. Too much rain.
On the map I had seen a Pomeranian royal palace called Ludwigsburg, so I went to see it, imagining a huge place like the ones I'd seen in Mecklenburg. But it turned out to be just this sad little dilapidated house that had been the home of Sophia, Duchess of Pomerania, a gift from her husband, who was one of the last ever Dukes of Pomerania. As I reached the coast, the sun disappeared.
No, it's really cold suddenly, and look what I'm going into. Cold sea mist. So much for my sunset. Good to see where I'm going. It's really chilly.
The previous night, my hoped-for campsite had been shut.
Well, the door's open.
Yeah, there you go. I wondered if I could camp with a sea view.
Wow. It's literally on the beach. Gosh, super. Gosh, it's a cold wind blowing here. Woo. Really cold from the east.
I pitched just back from the beach. I was the only tent.
Oh, much better. The sun's come through. Oh, that's lovely. Now it's time to choose dinner. So there's a choice of two: mushroom and soy mince stroganoff or spinach and chickpea curry. I'm going to have the spinach and chickpea because this takes a little bit longer to rehydrate, and I'm kind of okay today, so I can let that sit a bit longer. I'm not going to like fade away with hunger. Whereas tomorrow I don't know how I'll be, so tomorrow we can have the mushrooms, which are much quicker. So okay, let's get cracking with that. So spinach and curry will be with rice, won't it? Yeah, we'll have rice. So that's the spinach and chickpea mix.
So I left the food to soak while I went to look at the beach. The sun had burned through the mist.
So it's really promising, actually. The chickpeas are perfect. It's going to be really nice. Smells absolutely brilliant, actually. Kind of really rich and creamy. It's got milk powder in and various spices. Good. I'm hungry now.
So I had ridden from Hamburg through Mecklenburg and then Pomerania, and I'd reached the Baltic Sea. Now I had one day left before I would arrive in Poland and get the ferry to Sweden. As darkness fell, I went down to the beach to look at the Baltic Sea, which in a day's time I would cross to my journey's end.